how will Scott Perry and the front office approach this deadline, and specifically with someone like D'Angelo Russell, who we've been hearing a lot about lately?
Right. So I think in the weeks leading up to the deadline, I was told that there was some hesitancy about taking a big swing like D'Angelo Russell because, people above Mills wanted to take a patient approach, keep all the assets in place, keep the draft picks, keep the books clean for that next executive who is going to come in. So now that Steve is out, I would expect that a move like Russell is probably off the table unless you can get it done somehow without giving up draft picks or major compensation, because they want everything in the cupboard for the next guy to come in.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're proceeding with caution. You just brought it up there. If you trade for D'Angelo Russell, that is a major borderline A-list move. And that contract, regardless of how good he is on the books for the next 4 seasons. So that may either persuade or dissuade, is that even a word? Whatever the opposite.
It is.
Okay. Dissuade a potential president from coming in here and taking over because he doesn't have that much flexibility and the palette is not as clean as if D'Angelo wasn't here. So I'd look for some minor moves, but nothing of that to that extent.
You want the new regime to have as many options as possible at its disposal. And that brings me to Marcus Morris, because his future in New York is somewhat up in the air. Do you think that they should go ahead and move him just to see if they can get more assets to work with?
It's simple supply and demand for me, at least. Hopefully, Ian, you can agree with this, but Marcus Morris is a very good basketball player that can make a championship contender even better overnight. He's that essential in the trenches piece, right? And since there is demand for him to this extent, the Knicks aren't winning any championship, and if he really wants to sign with the Knicks again, like he so proclaims, why don't you trade him and then just re-sign him again in the offseason and get back some draft picks or some future assets as well? So he is very much on the trade block, at least in my mind, simply because so many teams want him.
Right. If we were talking yesterday, I would have said that it's unlikely that Morris gets moved, in part because I think the Knicks are trying to win games and he helps them win games because they wanted to get to a place where they could say, hey, this thing's going in the right direction. Give us another year to keep working through everything. Now that the president's fired, things are different. I've confirmed by talking to teams who've been in touch with the Knicks that the Knicks are much more open to moving Marcus Morris today than they were yesterday. That leads me to believe that they're much more focused on the future than they are today in the wake of today's news.